How many receivers are playing better than Puka Nacua right now?
I don't know. Jamar Chase. I struggle after Jamar Chase.
I almost think that the box score doesn't do justice for how good he was on Sunday.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Let's talk about Puka Nacua. Talk about another player that just went absolutely ham sandwich here. I mean, one of the best games that we've ever seen. I mean, shoot, this guy was crazy efficient. 14 targets, 12 grabs, 162 yards, a touchdown, and a rushing touchdown to boot. Puka Nacua was awesome, man. This was his third game of 160 plus receiving yards. He's only played 25 games, Matt. This guy is absolutely just going crazy right now.
Oh, yeah. Was it on the Sicko stream, James, where we kind of talked about Puka Nacua taking a leap? I believe at least one of the more recent ones. I think it might have been. I'm not sure if it was on the big show, so I'm glad we're talking about this, buddy, because I have been, even before this past week, been really intrigued by Puka Nacua's level of play right now. Because this is something that I tweeted out during the game, and it was sort of couched in a, hey, maybe I'm overreacting to what I'm watching right now. As you mentioned, all of those stats that Puka's putting up and it's crazy to say this because you just said 12 catches, 162 yards, a pair of touchdowns, impact in the run and pass game. Of course, doing stuff away from the ball as a pre-snap motion option, as a blocker. You mentioned all the stats. I think that I almost think that the box score doesn't do justice for how good he was on Sunday. And that's crazy because the box score is berserk. So right. I said this during the game, right, as he's just popping off against the Bills. And I don't even think the Bills defense played poorly. I think the Rams just played better on offense. Like sometimes you're playing good defense and the offense is just playing better, and vice versa. Sometimes it happens. But I said, how many receivers are playing better than Puka Nacua right now? Like, are there 5 wide receivers playing better than Puka Nacua, like playing better football right now than this guy, number 17 on the LA Rams? I'm not so sure. And like I said, this was something I was kind of inching towards this take even before kickoff of this game in week 14. But shoot, certainly week 14. I mean, again, it begs the question, how many wideouts are really playing better than this guy right now?
I don't know. Jamar Chase, I struggle after Jamar Chase, to be honest with you. I mean, we could sit here and say, well, Justin Jefferson is a better player. And sure, we could say that 100%. And I don't think anyone's going to bat an eye at that. But Puka's just on field. He's been a better player on field, impact wise. He's been a better player than Justin Jefferson. So again, we could talk about, theoretically, is Justin Jefferson better than Puka? Yes, of course, 100%. Skills, athleticism, all those kind of things. But just on the field, what we're seeing like today, right now, over the past, 3 weeks, Puka's been a more impactful player than Justin Jefferson, which is crazy to say.
Right. And I mean, I would say that Nico Collins is also in this conversation. Just you look at what he's done when he's been on the field, and obviously he's not a guy who played the whole season. Of course, neither has Puka Nacua. I think you could give them sort of like I think Nico deserves to be in the conversation. Efficiency-wise, A.J. Brown is obviously up there, but they're just throwing the football at such a low rate where, obviously they're leaning into Saquon, they're leaning into the defense, and I totally understand that they're winning football games that way. But even A.J. Brown after that game is saying, like, what do we need to work on right now? We need to work on passing the football. Basically, that was kind of what he said after that game, which is, he's not wrong. They do need to be better passing the football, even though he's having, from an efficiency perspective, like an unbelievable season. But like you said, impact on the game, playing better football right now. I mean, I think you got to give it to Puka based on he is the reason that this offense is that. He's one of the biggest reasons that offense is that good. So that, CeeDee Lamb, like lifetime achievement, but he's not. Obviously, he's got a quarterback injury there, of course. Right. But Puka again having a bigger impact right now. So the reason I kind of was like my nose was sniffing around this story even before week 14 in terms of Puka sort of, I would say, making a leap and rising up the ranks in terms of league-wide receiver ranks is. I was looking at, just like per route data against coverage last week, even going into week 14. Puka Nacua was second in the NFL in yards per route run against man coverage, and he was fifth in yards per route run against zone coverage. And obviously he goes up against this very zone-heavy Bills defense. Now he's second in yards per route run against man coverage and zone coverage. So it's like, regardless of how you're playing this guy right now, he is so productive. Specifically against man coverage, he only trails A.J. Brown, who, again, is we just talked about. He's super efficient, but he's not necessarily getting the volume or whatever. But number two, Puka Nacua, 4.31 yards per route run against man coverage. 4 yards. Over 4 yards per route run against man coverage is berserk level stuff. It's elite receiver stuff. And like I said, I think the eye test beyond proves the box score here. This is the thing I brought up on other places. I'm not sure if I've talked about it here, but I remember a conversation I had with Puka Nacua after the Super Bowl, or excuse me, like right at the Super Bowl, and sort of asking him, hey, like, give me a scouting report on your rookie season. We talked a little bit about the routes he runs really well. Especially the routes where, he worked over the middle of the field, running dig routes, dagger concepts, things like that. But also, like, where do you want to improve? And the thing that he brought up was, well, I know I led the league in drops, based on charting services, depends on what it is, but led the league in drops. I need to get better. I have confidence in my hands. I got to work better, in traffic and winning footballs and things like that. Well, my God, I mean, that is clearly the area where he has absolutely made the leap. Again, even before week 14, but certainly in week 14, James, this guy is winning multiple passes at the sideline, along the boundary.
Amazing.
And just beautiful ball tracking, perfect timing at the catch point, and complete and utter confidence in his hands. That's where I think you've seen the biggest leap in him this year. It's certainly on some of these outbreaking routes to the sideline rather than just the stuff over the middle of the field, but it's finishing the plays at the catch point. That's where I think you've seen him become like just one of the best receivers in football.
Yeah, it's been it's been incredible, man. It is so fun watching him play. Because again, great hands, great routes, and just after the catch, he's still an absolute menace. You got to bring your lunch pail with this guy, man. And you know what? Kudos to Sean McVay too, because a lot of times on especially on this show too, Matt, we talk about how there is like needless motion. I don't feel like there's ever needless motion when it comes to Puka Nacua. It's very impactful, and there's a very clear reason why the Rams are sending Puka into motion before the snap, right? And it's just to get the defense moving. It's to get him away from top coverage. It's just to kind of sort of, again, he's so good after the catch, to get this guy's motor going, man. But just everything that Sean McVay has done this season for Puka Nacua, just sending him in motion at different times, lining him up in different spots, and just really making the defense work, and just really think about. They have to think about. They cannot go into autopilot. They cannot run their base defense when you're running against Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. You just can't do it. It turns into a thinking man's game. And when it turns into a thinking man's game, Sean McVay's got you, man.
Yeah.
Sean McVay's got you. So I don't know. I've been really impressed with the Rams, especially over the last 6 weeks or whatever it's been. And they've been playing really, really good and really fun football. It has been a lot of fun to watch them play, man. And it's been bringing the best out of Matt Stafford too. And yeah, shoot, I don't know. We're gushing over here about the Rams, but it is fun football, man. It is fun football to watch the Rams play. Okay, let me go to the NFC.
Let me just stick on this though, because you mentioned the motion. Next Gen Stats had this. Puka has gained 383 yards from scrimmage after going in motion since he returned from injury in week 8. Not only does that lead the NFL, James, it's more than double the next closest player, which is who we're going to talk about in a second, Jaden Reed, with 168 yards gained after going in motion. So he is the epitome of purposeful motion. We're doing stuff to set Puka Nacua up to get the ball. And that's another thing. I do just want to keep gushing on this for a second, because not only do I think, James, and I want your opinion on this, if you think he's done enough to be considered a tier 1 receiver, But also, I would say that if we do consider him, that where some of the names we read off earlier, the Justin Jeffersons, the AJ Browns, the CeeDee Lambs, before this season, I would have put Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams in that conversation. I'm not sure if I'm willing to do that anymore. So again, the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chase, the CeeDee Lamb, the AJ Brown, that's kind of your, in my opinion, undisputable tier 1 receivers. If we're putting Puka Nacua in that group, and I'm curious if you think we've seen enough to consider him as an elite tier 1 number 1 receiver, certainly the stats back it up. I think obviously I might do a little charting for him this week just to really see if we can cement this case. But the eye test seems to back it up as well. If we're putting him in that group, is he also not the most unique player in this group? I mean, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, they're all doing great stuff. They're not doing the stuff that Puka Nacua is doing.
No. I think when we talk about unique, I think CeeDee Lamb is very unique too. Just with his ability to be impactful both inside and outside. I know Puka's there too, but yeah, no, you're right. He's an extremely interesting case because he doesn't win in the ways that we have traditionally seen wide receivers win. And what I mean by that is either you've been a fantastic slot player or you're winning downfield routes, right? Like Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson because he can do a little bit of everything. But at the end of the day, he is a special player because, man, he's going to beat you over the top. If you give him single high coverage, he's beating you, man. Like it's not even close, right? Like AJ Brown, same thing. You don't mess around and give him single coverage, man. Like he's going to crack you over the head with a deep long shot. That's traditionally how we've seen these fantastic receivers win. Shoot, Jamar Chase, we already know. We already know about Jamar Chase, right? Puka Nacua, he's just beaten you in so many different ways, like these deep overs, these dagger concepts that we're talking about. Again, in breaking routes that's getting them away from defenders. It's just different. It's just completely different. And his after the catch ability right now is, it's number 1. It's crazy. It's good stuff right now. And like I said, all kudos to McVay because I love what Puka is doing, but we do have to I have to bring in Sean McVay into that conversation, Matt, because truly, honestly, Puka on a different coaching staff is not doing this. Maybe Shanahan gets him going this way. Probably Shanahan gets him going this way. KOC, because he's from that same tree, gets him going this way. But man, there's just so few teams that's going to be bringing the absolute peak out of Puka Nacua the way that we are seeing in LA.